We're back on the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast Zoomcast this afternoon with Coach Rob Lanier coming back in to join us. He starts his third season at Georgia State. The Panthers are 35-19 in his first two. They are also one of the highest scoring teams, play with so much energy as they have averaged 79 points per game, Coach, in those first two seasons combined.
Yeah, you know, we try to play at a pretty good pace, and I've been fortunate that we've got some guys that can shoot the ball, score the ball, and we try to create a high possession game. We hadn't been great at it, but we've been good enough to score at that clip. But we certainly would like to improve in that regard as well.
Hey, Coach, expectations there are running high. As of last year, with the loss to App State there in the finals of the Sun Belt Tournament, you returned some key seniors in a talented league. I think where the depth is going to really show up this year. How do you and your players embrace the expectations in a new year?
Well, I think what all coaches try to do is internally create a level of standards that are conducive to being successful, and you try to meet those elevated standards on a consistent basis. And so if you can do that, if you can really internally make your standards high enough, and if your kids internalize that, it'll be less about what the outside expectations are or the preseason prognostications. It'll be more about us living to our standards. And so that's what we'll try to do. We know that the league is going to be really, really tough, like you alluded to, because, we got a lot of guys back, but a lot of our teams in our league have the majority of their key players back. And then you have teams like South Alabama that have so many talented new players coming in, and their coach is as good as anybody at getting his team acclimated to his place in a relatively short period of time. So the league is going to be really, really tough, top to bottom. So it's going to be an exciting year in the Sun Belt for sure.
Injuries have been a big theme so far. Just curious about how much you can talk about those, and then, what you might be able to give us as an update on your injury report.
Yeah, we're banged up right now.
Mm-hmm.
The one guy for sure is out for the season, but that was a surgery that took place in the off season, and just really unfortunate for that young man, because he really was coming into his own before we got into this deal. But aside from that, we have some guys that are out. We've been practicing with 9 guys the last 2 days. I guess, now is, I don't know if it was ever a good time, but if you had to pick a time, you'd rather it be early in your practice season. So eventually we'll become whole. And when we do, I think we'll have a chance to be good. I don't know if that'll be anytime soon. We'll have some key guys that'll be out, maybe even early as the start of the season. So time will tell, but we're still encouraged because we do have some depth, so we can try to make the most of some challenges along the way.
Yeah, one of those kids that is going to be a big difference maker for you, and I think in the Sun Belt, is Corey Allen. Comes back as your leading scorer from a year ago. He was all second team Sun Belt Conference at 15 points a game. Tons of potential. Just reading some clips, seems like he's taking his game now to another level.
Well, you know what he's done? He's become a leader for us. He's lost 25 pounds and changed his body, and he's taken a lot of pride in that. That's a hard thing to do when you're that young, to put down the fast food and really eat the right way and really train at a high level. And he's done that. So I'm proud of that. And he was leading us in scoring as it was. But now he's worked at his game and improved his skill and improved his ball handling and decision making, and all the while getting in great shape. So certainly, we've got high hopes for Corey.
Yeah, Justin Roberts comes back on the point, led you in assists. Talk about his game, playing with Corey as they're both seniors. Obviously, that's a really good thing to have with two players like that in the backcourt that can play off each other and they know the ins and outs of each other's games.
Well, I think that's true of our backcourt in general. Even the guys on the bench, Corey and Justin have played a lot of minutes together, as has Kane Williams. The three of those guys have really complemented one another well. But I think that's gone to another level too. I think they've settled in to the roles and what each of them bring to the table. And I think their level of respect for one another has grown after having played together at a high level for a year. So I think bringing that experience into this year is critical for our team.
Kane Williams, you mentioned 12.9 points per game. It's taken his game to another level as well.
Yeah, Kane, he's been fantastic this offseason. He's worked as hard as I've ever seen him work. And he really has been so consistent with his approach to practice each day, the way he's communicating on the court. And I think he's really settled into his strengths. He's shooting the ball really well. But, Kane is one of those guys that can affect the game in so many ways. And I think he really has embraced his ability to make other guys better on both ends of the floor. And he's been so coachable and so mature. I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to coach Kane, and now to have him for a third year. That's I'm a lucky guy to have the opportunity to coach him.
Those kids that have been in the program and been there, and then just narrowly missing the big dance last year. Has there been even more assertiveness, in the off season by the team and by them as leaders?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of growth. Our message to them, and I think their message to one another, has been that we're starting over. Every team has a 1-year lifespan, and so this year's team is this year's team, and I think those guys bring all of that experience into this season, and I think it's helped us get the younger guys acclimated to college basketball, because they've got so many good examples on the practice floor each day, because we've got experienced guys, and that's a good program step for us, is to have older guys who, by virtue of their approach to the game and their approach off the court, set an example and a model for the younger guys.
I noticed Jordan Rawls from Western Kentucky has joined the Panthers there. He played 28 games a year ago, about 29 minutes per game. How does he fit into the mix? What's he going to bring your squad on both ends of the floor?
Yeah, he's just a good guard that can score, that can handle, that can distribute. He surprised me a little bit, because I've known Jordan since he's in 9th grade, and I knew he was a good offensive player. I know he can handle, pass, and shoot. I was concerned about his effort level, and that's been the strength of his presence inside of our team since he's gotten here. Is his effort level has been tremendous. And I think he deserves the credit for that. But I would also say that Corey Allen has had a great influence on him. Their relationship has impacted him. And so he's been dynamite for us. And so I'm really proud of the strides that he continues to make.
Coach, we talk about deep leagues, and of course this is one, and we said the standings, may be mobile this year. It's a one-bid league, and it seems like there's depth here for more than that. How does the Sun Belt rise now? The conference is high in all the metrics, which I think it was a couple years ago. It even got as high as 11 or 12 in the country. So it feels like the next logical progression is maybe get an at-large bid.
Well, there's a lot of elements that go into that. It's it's a tough step to take as a mid-major to get into that area where you've got multiple bid situation, and obviously the Mid-American was at a level like that years ago. The Missouri Valley had done it in the past. The Colonial was operating at a high level at some point. And so there is a cyclical aspect to it. And I think as that goes, we do seem to be trending in that direction. And so some of it is luck. You need the best team in your league to play its best. And then you need the other good teams to play well so that we all bolster one another. And I think there's also an element to your schedule that helps those numbers that you speak of. So there's a lot of factors that come into play, but we've got really good players in our league. We got really good coaches, and we need to play really well outside of the conference because we're going to beat one another up when we get in the conference. And that's what happens in good leagues. And so, but you need your best teams to play at a high level. But you also need several teams to compete at a high level. And I think we'll have that.
Last thing, Coach, of course, you being a college basketball coach, you love the NBA, and I do too. I'm excited about training camps and stuff opening. Two-part question. As you've recruited lots of pro talent, Texas and Tennessee, for example, Kevin Durant being with the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, how excited are you to see him start again and maybe pick back up where he left off? He was playing on an enormous level last year, even with the loss, in the playoffs as they didn't make it out. And the second thing, talk about the Hawks. That was one of the really great stories of the entire season last year.
Well, I'm a big Kevin Durant fan.
Oh, yeah.
He is fun to watch. There's so much banter and debate about who's the best and who's the second best and all of this. And I think all of the debate around sports sometimes cloud your appreciation for how great some of these guys are. And Kevin Durant is truly one of the best players of our lifetime, and certainly one of the outstanding players in today's game. And at his size, the things that he can do, his competitive nature, his passion for the game, and his flat out ability to do things like a guard at his size is just remarkable and fun to watch. And I'm always amazed, Ken, at how guys like Kevin Durant continue to improve and work at the game when they basically have achieved so much and attained so much that they very easily could allow human nature to distract them away from continuing to strive for greatness at the sport. And instead, this guy keeps striving to take it to another level. So I think he's a great example for young people. Even with all his immense talents, he's still one of the hardest workers you'd ever come across. The Hawks have been so exciting for the city of Atlanta, man. Living here for 2 years, coming out of COVID, and for the NBA to get back to business, and in the midst of that, for this team to emerge, and for Nate McMillan to really energize this franchise, and by way of doing that, really energize the Atlanta sports landscape, and Trae Young being a big part of that. But I don't know their front office personnel personally. I do know one of the guys on the coaching staff, but the draft picks that they've made, it just seems like they're getting everything right over there. That's really neat to see. I'd love to pick their brains to see how they're evaluating guys, because it seems like every decision they make has been, every draft pick, I mean, they're loaded with young guys, with Hunter and Reddish and Herter and Young, and the trades that they've made, they're hitting it over there, and it's fun to watch.
Coach Rob Lanier, one of my favorite guests. Coach, I tell you, man, you guys get down here to Florida. We've got to get together and get a sandwich or something. I owe you something for coming on here all these times.
Well, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate what you do.